jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show.
Join us as we cover many an insane movie and numerous cult TV phenomenons. Are you ready to get jacked up? Are you with us? Then listen on.
Listener discretion is advised. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. It's a jacked up review show. Jacked up review show.
Welcome, ladies and gents. Rumor has it, there's a stranger in town. He's here to take back the town and become its new sheriff. It is Charlie Chase.
That's me with Give Me Back My Action Movies. It's me.
Yes.
I'm back.
It might be. It might actually be a horror movie this episode. You never know.
I'm sure we'll touch a little bit on that. So we have also the Give Me Back My Horror Movies. I have to stay on brand no matter which way we go, man.
Branded, baby. The actor we are talking about is definitely an example of a brand. We are talking about football player turned martial artist and actor Fred Williamson. So,
oh man, yes.
Where the hell do you know him from? You might.
Okay. you want me to go, or you want to open up?
I'll just start with his guest spots. You might have seen him guest spot on Soul Train, PSI Factor, Renegade, the original Star Trek, and
wow,
the Rookies,
deep cuts,
Chips, and the rest of the time I'll let you do the movies. Plug the movies. Where the hell do you know him from, movie wise?
Well, movie wise, growing up, there was quite a few that I just didn't watch when I was younger. But he was that guy you always were like, where have I seen him from? Where do I know this dude from? And until like a lot later on in my movie watching, and honestly, till we could actually research what movies everyone's done, was before you start realizing that, you know, I knew this guy from like the original movie MASH. He was the Hammer. This guy made a career out of the blaxploitation films of, you know, the 70s and early 80s.
Some of the best by Larry Cohen. I mean, just Hell Up in Harlem and its sequel are just so badass. They are practically his godfather.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where I'm always, when someone reminds me, because I'll see his name pop up, like he's going to be at a convention or something. And it's like, I need to dig back into this guy's body of work, which is what, like 300 credits he has or something.
Almost
like that,
as many as easily Ice-T or Eric Roberts or Michael Madsen. Just someone who
right. I mean, he's right up there with like Danny Trejo or something, where you realize you're like, holy shit, has this guy really been in this many projects? And it's like, yeah, these are the working men of Hollywood that they just kept working. You know, they weren't worried about, I only did one movie in 5 years and I made $20 gajillion. No. Yeah. You know, I don't like those things, man. I like the guys that, you know, it's like, yeah, I work. Okay, what movie am I doing next month? Cool, 100%. I'll be there. Yeah, love that stuff.
Even before he got to Redbox, or, you know, is this very rarely did he even do that? There's only like one that was like, okay, Maverick Home Entertainment. Okay, that's gonna probably suck, but you got me sold, because at least it's kind of playing to his kind of alter ego that he often portrayed on screens. You know, the smoking detective who's, you know, too cool for school. And I mean, you mentioned Trejo. He's definitely crossed over with a lot of people who've been around for years. I'm not surprised that he's shared the screen a bunch of times with either a Baldwin brother, Tommy Tiny Lister, or Jim Brown, or even Robert Forster. You know, just
right. Yeah.
People who just are always badass, no matter the budget or production companies.
I like those type of actors where it's like he's worked with some of the greats. He's worked with people before they were great. You know, I prefer these type of, I guess we could call them like the blue collar end of Hollywood. That just, what's the movie, man? What's the project? Okay, cool. I dig that. Let's do that. You know, and Fred Williamson, you can't miss him. You can watch these movies and it's immediately you're doing the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the TV screen and it's like, there's Fred Williamson. There he is. I knew he was in this movie. You know,
My God. Yeah.
But I can sit here and scroll like through IMDb and even sit here and go, holy crap, was he in that movie? Like the Bronx Warriors. It's like an old
Yes, he
80s
was. Yep.
cheesy, just these like post-apocalyptic. This was that run of weird post-apocalyptic movies.
All those Italian productions, he was pretty
Yeah.
much in. Like, but that was just what was so weird is you always used to, for the longest time, think it just was for someone who was like had a hit 60s or 70s like sitcom or detective show. Is like, nope, not even that. He just was that. He was pretty much wherever the wind blew, that's where he was popping up. And I mean, I find it even cooler how, like you said, it was blaxploitation, but he also started out with blaxploitations that would also be set during a Western period. So it was interesting there. And he continued, you know, the Jim Brown, you know, collaborations. You know, after Free the Hard Way, he starred in this very epic one with Jim Kelly and them called One Down, Two to Go, which was pretty much in the 80s. It was basically, I had the honor of seeing it a few years back. I was like, so this was pretty much their Expendables. This was them when they decided, let's do a love letter to what we were best known for initially. And then just following it up with even just guest spots on The Equalizer, Amen. And then, I mean, I can definitely recommend other productions he's done, like Deadly Impact and Vigilante, which you probably know him from.
Yep. I mean, again, whether I remember him specifically, he's always that, oh, there's Fred. Oh, I remember that guy right there. I mean, he's in the original Inglourious Bastards. You know?
Yeah, so that makes sense why he works with Tarantino years later. He remembered him from that. He's like, man, how can I not work with this badass mofo?
I think that's a missed opportunity, though. Why would you not have given Fred Williamson a cameo in that? Just somewhere, or if he did, maybe it got cut, but you know, you have someone that was originally in it that's in your Rolodex of actors that you obviously love working with. Just toss him in there, you know, just a quick little thing for the other people to be like, oh, that guy was in the original one. That's awesome.
100%. And I love even more how he and Bo Svenson would just work on some stuff, just minor stuff together as well. It's like they remembered each other from that and Impact and just said, hey, you know, you're cool, I'm cool. Let's work together. And I mean, the best actors are the ones who don't just wait for the phone to ring, but also just take their career with a grain of salt and are willing to just, you know, be the best part about any movie. And, you know, I'm just, you know, once the 90s in, I like how he then does a bunch of just low rent, you know, just fun, silly, you know, B movie franchises like Black Cobra and Delta Force Commando, and then follows it up with and just, again, more indie movies. I had the honor of seeing South Beach years ago on Showtime, and I just like, man, that was a fun, this is where he got into directing more and more. Is like, hey, here's my own indie movie. I'm going to cast a bunch of other B-listers like Peter Fonda and Gary Busey. We're just going to have a fun 2 a.m. kind of movie, because what else do you want?
Well, and I think it also shows people enjoyed working with him, be it directors or writers or even other actors, where they're like, hey, I've got this project. I think Fred would be a good fit. Or he's talking to Fred and it's like, Fred, I think you'd be a good fit for this part. Because it didn't matter if it was a blockbuster movie or it brought in hundreds of millions of dollars. It was just a project that he probably had fun and kept the lights on for another couple of months. You know, I just like a guy that works, you know. And I mean, he did things as simple as one episode of Renegade, you know, and I love me some Lorenzo Lamas, you know, and all that stuff. But like, you had Fred Williamson on one episode. That's kind of awesome. You know, I'm sure it was just like, hey, we have a role. We actually probably wrote it for him, to be honest. When you were doing that, somebody knew him and went, let's write a part for Fred and get him in on the TV show. Yeah, okay,
Well,
let's do
totally.
that. Yeah.
And by that point, he was playing himself on a bunch of different sitcoms. So it's like, I think he was able to laugh at himself. There wasn't any sense of ego that was to the point of, I mean, it wasn't like Shatner level where you got to be on his level if you want to get anything fucking done for the day. It was like, okay, no, it's kind of more, I'm cool for school and I know I'm cool, but I'm going to have you have your moment. And then when the camera rolls to me, oh man, I'm going to blow you all away.
No, yeah. I think that just shows the level of integrity, if you want, for the guy in his career path. He's like, he is, to me, that is a career, not that you were in 10 blockbuster movies and that was it. This is his job.
And the rest was come again. You know, what was the last cool thing I saw him in? Not sure.
Right. Or, you're like, have you done anything in a while? It's like, no, I'm just waiting for the right project to come across. My agent sends me stuff back and forth. I'm sure you called up Fred and was like, hey, here's the pitch. Okay, Dan. Okay, I'm in. I'm not man. All right, I'll be there. What, Tuesday? I'm there. That's the kind of working ethic. I think I guess that's the right word. The man had a good work ethic and just did the work, did the job.
100%. So, I mean, even when he gets to Fred Olin Ray or Roger Corman type cheese factors, I think he still stands pretty tall because he's always been B-movie friendly. So he never felt out of place in any project when, he came from blaxploitation levels. So, and, TV guest spots. So I think he was at that point, like you say, he wanted to do fun tributes to his earlier work. And he also just wanted to every movie set was a party.
Yeah. I have to say that's probably exactly it, man. It's do what you enjoy. And I feel like he actually enjoyed what he did.
Especially when he got to Original Gangsters, he's working with Larry Cohen again and again, Pam Grier and Jim Brown, who he's worked with before. And they're just all pretty much, again, doing fun send-ups of what was their original money makers, just
right. That's like a Clash reunion or, some kind of, it's like all the old friends from the neighborhood got together and they get to hang out again. I would have loved to just heard some of the conversations with all of them getting together and, he just has a presence. That's the other thing about Fred Williamson is he's not like this low level background character and there's a lot of good ones out there. I mean, hell, I love Al Leong. He's like my absolute favorite henchman of all time.
Leong,
yeah. But you also have all those other guys, like other Mexican guy that you're like, I've seen him. Then your head blow
Thomas
up in Running Man.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But Fred Williamson, it's like, that dude's got a presence. Like you're like, oh shit, it's Fred Williamson. I'm about to see some awesome stuff, at least from him. Even if the movie sucks, Fred's going to be pretty badass in this.
Oh, absolutely. I would get those 10 DVD movie packs all the time, and half the time he'd be on them, and it would always be worth it. It's like, yeah, that movie blew, like Soda Cracker, just plotless and just ends anticlimactically. But man, he kept my attention before the suck factor kicked in. And I mean, he's underused in the Dolph Lundgren, John Woo TV movie Blackjack, but the sheer impact of putting him in there as the mentor is just already inspired enough. And I loved how in the 2000s he continued his reign where he did Night Vision, he did what's the other one? Down and Dirty, and then followed it up with The Rage Within and On the Edge. And all of those, he was working with one of the Norris brothers.
Yeah, Gary
Busey.
I don't know if it was Aaron or one of the other ones, but wasn't On the Edge with was that Ice-T?
Yeah, Ice-T was in a bunch of them. Cynthia Rothrock and Forster.
That's right, Rothrock.
And but
her. She's awesome.
She's stellar too, and needs more attention. But yeah, he's working with all these cool cats who've been around for years, who can do fights and everything. And again, he plays, even though they're disconnected movies, he's playing the same fictional detective he's created, was Detective Dakota Smith. And I would see, how could I not? You were going to see a lot of them late at night on the movie channels, or FX or USA would play them, and they were just easygoing B pictures, C movies that were fun. And I mean, it was pretty much just a fun send up of his blaxploitation kind of genre. And it's like every one of them, Gary Busey or Andrew Divoff, the Wishmaster himself, are going to play some crazy lunatic going around killing people. And
perfect bad guys. But and you're right. I actually never even realized I've probably seen more movies than I've let my brain accept, because you had USA Late at Night, you had all those other like
Spike TV would play a Carradine movie with him and then
play some wild thing. I do remember though, and talking, we're into the 2000s with him, was the best thing about the Starsky and Hutch movie was Fred Williamson in that movie
he knew
as the captain. Well, he's playing a role he was probably made for, because he was there in the 70s during all of that. So he's probably like, I'm the realest thing about this movie. None of you other cats are going to be real in this.
100%. And even when he gets back into just B movie, D movies, is like he's in this one with Olivia Grunner and Don the Dragon Wilson called Crooked, which is a fun witness protection movie, and Vegas vampires of all things. Is like, those are fun because, and then still just fun guest spots like Pushing Daisies and Being Mary Jane, all these other shows that were popular. But yeah, his latest one was VFW, and I heard that was pretty good, because that was just a big tribute to, again, a lot of those Assault on Precinct 13 type 70s movies. So he never, like you say, he never gave up the 70s aspect to his career. It's what he owes it to. So yeah, I mean, that's his genre. That's his thing. Why would I could never accept him being like an 80s character, even though he was an 80s action star in all those crazy movies, but he's always just oozed 70s. The way he talks, the way he looks, that's like you just pulled him out of one of the old, out of Hammer, aged him a little bit and threw him in a movie in the 2000s. That's what Fred Williamson's like. He has aged pretty good. I've never noticed a part where it just looked like his makeup was off or anything. I think he just had a good fitness etiquette, and he just brought that to every role. And he had enough money. He takes care of himself. I mean, you would have to think, if you're going to keep working, you've got to take care of yourself. That's kind of hand in hand. Yeah. And again, I think he just has a really good work ethic, work etiquette, everything about it. And other than the recent, just him asking for a blowjob on the set of VFW, I've never heard anything before that. And I do think he's flirtatious, but I think he's pretty much just at that point. He's just an old school guy, and he's a product of his environment. We just said he basically oozes the 70s, but there was no social media back then. So who knows what was going on backstage in his mind or whatever. Yeah. We're not condoning. What we're saying is these people of that generation, they are a product of where they came from. No, we're not excusing it, but we're just saying, let's give it a little context here, especially if that's the worst I'm going to hear from someone. I'll take it though, compared to just raping people nonstop. But yeah, pick one. I think Fred's still up there in my book. I dig it. You can't go wrong with Fred. He dissed a lot of blaxploitation parodies like Black Dynamite, and that's okay. That's a great movie, but he's too close to the subject matter, so I can understand why he probably would think, yeah, but you missed the point of those movies, or you made them seem cheesier than they were. And it's like, I get it. You're close to the content, so that's why you didn't dig it. As opposed to just seeming like, oh, I'm just jealous because you're more successful than me or anything like that. No, that's not what he's saying at all. No, I don't think so. I think if anyone has the perspective for it, would be him, Pam Grier, all these people that came from that era. They were there. They knew what they were doing, but it was getting the content out. There was an audience that wanted to watch it. So bravo, because it was also a time that who knows how it was even going to be able to get out in theaters at that time. But essentially he took what he could pick, and if he had to submit it himself, he was cool. And I mean, he did this movie for HBO back in the day called 3 Days to a Kill, and that had like Lee Majors and a bunch of these other just old school 60s and 70s tough guys. And I mean, he did Atomic Eden, which reunited him with Lorenzo Lamas. So I think pretty much like you're saying, he wants to work with anyone who's an ass kicker at some point and then invite him back for seconds, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I was researching a little bit about, again, going through, like, you forget everything he's done. My son, when he was real young, got hooked on this little show called like Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. It was just a real goofy kid. It was a kid's show. It's not like iCarly or anything, but it was, he was watching it. And then I looked and I was like, why is this a credit? And he was one of the coaches that was in an episode. So I immediately had to go like find it on YouTube and see Fred. And you're like, how did that get by me? I should have been like, holy shit, there's Fred. He's in my kid's freaking, Nickelodeon or Disney Channel, whatever show. And it had to be like some writer or some producer was like, we need some Fred Williamson up in here. We got to get some street cred.
I need a cool detective or doctor or someone who needs to do a black belt kung fu scene.
He played a coach. Okay, I buy that. That's Coach Fred Williamson now, and I'm down.
Maybe they knew him for being a defensive back in football.
There you go. Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig. I think we might still have the old DVDs that we didn't have streaming services when Anthony was born, so we went and bought like all the collection DVDs because he would watch it, and we didn't have TiVo or anything. This is like, I don't know, 08.
Yeah, unless you want to record an MLB or NFL network.
You went to the local buybacks DVD place and you bought the collection someone traded in for $5, and here you go. And he'd sit there and watch them all day long. He just loved that stuff. But yeah, I mean, Fred Williamson has been everywhere. And again, it cements that I know that guy. Holy shit, I know that guy. He was in this movie. He was in freaking Dusk Till Dawn. And I think probably has one of, if not the best transformation in that movie, and he's alongside Tom Savini, who is the godfather of, creature effects and transformations, and they're buddies in it. And I love him in that movie. I know it's not a Dusk Till Dawn episode, but you can't talk about Fred Williamson and not talk about that movie. Cause I mean, he had a presence that was over top of everyone in that movie.
100%. The
he
movie
stood out. Yeah.
Is never as big, until you get to that. I mean, you already got other heavyweights like Harvey Keitel and Trejo, but yeah, when he gets there, it's just like, I mean, surprise guest spot by, Fred. And even if you don't know who he is, it's like, you can't say his character wasn't just incredible. Just
yeah, like I said, just go back in the later and early 80s and check out all those Italian knockoff action movies. He's just there, but you will always always know who Fred is in those movies.
Right. Well, and I think every generation's known him enough to where it's like eventually you're going to go through his catalog again, and enough of his movies are still getting Blu-ray, like the Code Red or Severin Films treatment. So he's going to keep being rediscovered. Often I will see a lot of his stuff still get played on Turner Classic Movies when they do their Friday night cult movies section after midnight. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
He's going to be in one of those that is like, man, he's playing a hippie, or he's playing a slave on the run who's going to kick all the slave owners by the end of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Now there's probably a few movie titles they probably won't play on TV, but again,
they did.
Of its time. Did they play some of them?
They played The Legend of So-and-so Charlie. If you get my meaning.
Ooh, I got you. I know that.
And because it fit their bill, is like, we're going to play some blaxploitation or drive-in type movies that had some kind of audience. And wow. I mean, even watching Adios Amigo and Death Journey, those were cool because, I mean, some people don't care for him as a director. I think he did pretty good considering what he had to do by giving everyone their moment in the sun. And I mean, I'd be pretty happy too if at the end of the day, it's the same old school, premise where I play a cool detective who gets laid and saves the day. That's pretty cool storyline to go on.
Well, if you look at it, he knew what that particular actor was probably going through, because he's like, hey, someone had to take a chance on me. I'm going to give you your 15 minutes. So here you go. Let's see what you do with it. And I feel,
100%.
yeah, I feel like that's just the type of guy he was because
If you're a
of
cool
where
actor,
he come from.
Why
Yeah.
don't I want you? You know?
Right. If you're an asshole, you're never going to be back on this movie set again, and I won't ask you for my next one. But if I see you're putting in the effort, you're putting in the, you may not be a great actor, but if you're putting in the work ethic and you're doing what I'm asking you to, I'll bring you back on, or I'll get you onto another movie that maybe it'll work even better for you.
Yeah.
He's just a good dude. I like Fred. There's nothing wrong with Fred.
Even the whole just, you know, he likes to always joke. He's like, I don't let anyone determine my destination. And I think when you got that much inspiration, you know, you're pretty much unstoppable. And it's like, he didn't let the studios tell him what he could or couldn't do. He pretty much just said, hey, you know, from this, I'll do 10 more of those movies. Hey, I want to work with you. Now, I'm telling you, I want to be, and he's just found subtle ways to be progressive. And, you know, you can't say he's a cool role model. You can't say, he's a pretty inspirational dude and friend of the show. That's right. Matt Poirier, direct-to-video connoisseur, interviewed him years ago. And he was talking about how he wasn't very happy with all of his roles. And they were like, that's just not true. You've left a big impact. I know you're just kind of venting right now in this private session, but you know, come on, you kill every time you're at a convention or you're doing a private screening of a new, you know, B picture.
Well, and I think that comes down to he's too close to it.
Yeah.
And he's not, and again, he's not being written about at TMZ. He's not being articles written about him all over the place, but there is a fan base. And I'm sure he sees it because, I mean, I know he did do quite a few cons for a while. He's getting up there in age. So we don't know how much, you know, more he'll be able to come to. He's born
83.
Yeah, he's born in 38, man. I mean, but he's still going. I mean,
don't you find it funny, though, that sources vary on whether or not he has 3 children versus 6? He got around.
look, man, we all know the whole thing about like Eddie Murphy and stuff like that. So I think Fred Williamson is just on the lower tier of all of that. I
gotta replicate my beauty, my friend. I gotta give you some of what I got.
I got 3 kids, man. I don't need any more. I'm good. I've replicated. They're clones of me, so I don't have to worry about that.
No more clones.
No more clones, man. I've covered the gambit. We're good to go.
Why wasn't he in Star Wars Attack of the Freds? Right.
He was in Star Trek, though. I guess he just picked his franchise.
He gets a great fight scene with Bill Shatner in that episode. I just resaw it.
See that, and that's awesome. I mean, who do you get to stand up against William Shatner as Kirk? You get the biggest dude you can find.
Absolutely. And I mean, he slugs him hard with like a gun and then before they go hand to hand. So that's already a great way to start the fight. And that brings us to our next point. Out of all these movies, can you name a moment where he doesn't have an awesome just, shootout or fight scene, other than the general roles and later direct-to-video stuff? I can't think of any that are just what a waste of Fred. I can't think of one movie that doesn't have at least a cool car chase, even if it sucks,
No, you're right. I think, and again, it just comes down to if you have a role and you know what you're required of. It's like, okay, I need this giant dude. He's gonna blow everyone away.
I'm a boxer. I'm a fugitive on the run.
He can stand toe to toe with anyone that would come up in a movie, even if they were a pro boxer. I'd probably still put money on Fred. Let who is that? One of those Paul idiots that are on YouTube or something that thinks he's a boxer. I'd still put money on Fred Williamson. I don't know. I might put
even if he got his ass kicked by Muhammad Ali, that would still be a pretty cool ass fight.
I think Muhammad Ali would have loved to have fought Fred Williamson.
He might even let him win. Just say, you know what? I'm going to let you win. And I have this hysterical movie called Transform, which is just this no budget martial arts movie. And I listened to the commentary because it was just so entertaining. It was clearly made from a school of love, unlike most, micro budget movies. And they're talking about it as like Fred is heavily promoted on the poster. And the commentator's like, yeah, I'm not going to even deny it. We pretty much no one got paid, and we paid him $10,000 for the day, and he came in and did a cool fight scene in a warehouse.
Worth every penny.
It was absolutely worth it. They were like, he was cool. He asked us how much more footage he needed. We needed. Was there the whole day. Never complained. Never said anything. So it's like,
I dig it. I would rather put those guys up higher on a tier than some other so-called action actors or Oscar worthy actors. I like these guys.
It makes you wonder who is the next big action star, because it's like we got some other guys who, like Carl Urban and Frank Grillo, who act and do stunts.
Yeah,
but they're underused.
Grillo is actually, I think, probably one of the few that's kind of on an upward trajectory right now.
Because it's like he took a hit after he left Purge and Captain America. I'm like, no, this dude is still awesome, still relevant.
No, I mean,
Lost Level was amazing.
I have to it's trying to keep up with movies I need to watch while doing a podcast.
Well, that's true too. We're oversaturated.
Yeah, we are way oversaturated, but I also pay attention to what he's doing, and I've heard like him in Cop Shop was fantastic. So I'm excited to watch it. Matter of fact,
I'm surprised what good ratings it had after the studio cut a lot of footage, and it still got good reviews. And I mean, he was there with Gerard Butler, who I think, again, was everyone's favorite actor to shit on just because Hollywood didn't know how to use him. And I'm like,
why?
After after 300 and Olympus Has Fallen, I'm like, I'm sorry, no, that he has a place, and comedy may not have been his forte, but he can do drama. I love Machine Gun Preacher. I love what's the other one?
I love Gamer. Gamer was freaking awesome.
Gamer was fun for what it was. Reign of Fire. I mean, come on, he got to hunt dragons with Christian Bale. How is that not awesome?
And that's one of his early ones. That was the one I watched going, I want more of this dude.
That was before he was Gerard Butler.
Yeah, that's before he bulked up and took all his clothes off except for a loincloth and kicked 300 asses. And that's
why was Fred not there? He could have been a Spartan, but yeah, I know what you mean. Where his is like,
I think Fred could have been Xerxes. Just shave his head back. He was already
that would have been
enough.
Creepy good. That would have been cool.
I would have loved that. I'd have been in. Not just saying the guy that played it didn't do good, but we love it's a Fred episode. So
I know, the more stars, the better. And I mean,
but
especially compared to the other guys who we're seeing who are hired just because their name means a bunch overseas in Japan or Bulgaria. And I'm like, no, stop putting them in movies. Put the guys who can still kick ass, that clearly want to be there. Again, Clint Eastwood pretty much did his final movie, and Stallone and Bruce are going to do a lot of duds in between projects that they're actually do give a shit about. And then Arnold's struggling.
Doing it. Arnold, I don't know.
I hope his spy show for Netflix works, but if not, then he has himself to blame, because it's kind of one of those, you kind of don't screw over the Kennedys, let alone marry one. It just doesn't end well. But
True.
And everyone forgets that. It's like Maria Schreider is related. It's like, yeah.
I never forgot that, because it was just always the weirdest thing of we're not going to get political on this, but
too late.
Whoops.
But no,
I think you're right though. I think we're unfortunately we're about to see the downfall of a lot of our heroes.
Even Tim Thomerson, who's been with a few things, he's kind of vanished for a while, and I don't know if it's just he doesn't want to work all that long unless it's full moon related. I don't know.
Well, I mean, look at Eric Roberts. I mean, not that he's doing anything bad, but you
10
can just
movies a year. A year.
Well, Bruce
20.
Willis isn't far behind, even though he's only working one day on each movie.
Is basically producing anything.
He goes, just whatever I could put my name on and I get paid for. I think he would actually come on my show if I paid him enough.
He probably would.
He probably would. I think Kilmer was on that path, but I haven't finished watching that Kilmer documentary. I think he's kind of came to a realization of where he's at in life right now. Well, and that whole thing maybe even opened his eyes a little bit.
Oh, 100%. And that article he was in, I mean, we actually kind of contrasted him with how he portrayed Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison was kind of in the thick of it and just very dissatisfied. And he was kind of in that same deal. It doesn't matter how rich and talented you are. If you're just not digging the roles you're getting, or
everybody gets burned out. Sometimes it's never about the money. It's just, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. I don't want to do it.
How do you complain without coming off as ungrateful? How do you be constructive without still seeming whiny? It's hard. It's not easy to navigate. It's never crystal clear.
No, because you're in a public eyes. You're being judged by millions of people. Even in your own mind, you're like, I can't have my own thought. anymore.
Every question is a loaded one.
Exactly. Even what do you want for dinner? I don't know. Do I stay home and then I get treated as I never leave the house? Do I go out to eat and I get bombarded by paparazzi? I would never want that. I can't
hear you over the sound of fuck off.
Exactly. I already know that life was never anything I was ever interested in. I like my little podcast studio. I sit in front of my computer, and if someone knows what I really look like, they're gonna go, "Oh shit, that's a big dude." But it's
absolutely.
I'll never really disparage anyone, even if I don't agree with them. Because I'm gonna be like, you're doing a career and a life that I could never do or imagine doing. So, but like I said, that's why I like Fred so much. I can see what he does and how he works, the passion, and he just keeps going. It's just that man will probably be making a movie the day before his last day on this earth. And, I don't think that's a bad thing, because I think he'll be doing exactly what he loves doing.
100%.
Didn't mean to bring the room down with that one, but
I think that's the best place to end it. Cause we pretty much have covered his pros and cons. And
yeah, I think so. Definitely a lot more pros than cons. We'll definitely go at it at that.
Even in his worst day, there's barely a moment where I'm just like, yeah, but he's just bigger than whatever he's in. He's just got this cool persona, and it's okay if he gets repetitive and he's basically another version of what he's already played, because we love seeing him in that role so much. It's just, it's powerful enough. We've
come to expect it now. Now it's like, I don't know if I could ever watch him in a dramatic role and see tears coming out of his eyes. No, I want to watch him punch a motherfucker. I want to see him ball up that fist that's probably the size of my damn head and punch somebody. And I'm down. I'm Fred Williamson all the way.
100%. Okay, well, thank you ever so much for being on here. Would you care to plug your show?
I am Charlie with Give Me Back My Action Movies and also Give Me Back My Horror Movies. We release one of each every other week, so there's always content every week. We are part of the Give Me Back My Podcast Network, and we are close friends with Cameron here at the Jacked Up Review Show.
I'm gonna cry. No,
it's okay. It's okay. According to my schedule, I'll be on here a few more times coming up. So
Charlie is good at telling me to get my head out of my ass and stop being a pussy. He's a really good motivator, and
I try, man. I got to be that type of mentor, I guess. No, it's all good. And you guys can find Cameron and myself on Facebook at the Give Me Back My Action Movies Facebook group. Cameron's also got his Jacked Up Review Show Facebook group, and we're all always on there sharing stuff. So if we're not talking on the podcast, we're talking over there.
It's pretty slow in the action video. Everyone seems to be reacting to the horror podcast, and I'm like, I love all, but come on, give a little more towards the action stuff.
I saw a few more today, so I think it goes in waves. So we'll see how it goes.
By the day, by the month.
Yeah. Pretty much, man. It's January, February. It's slow for everybody right now. So
yeah,
everybody's still recovering and wondering what this year's got for us. How many more celebrities are going to die?
Oh, don't say that. Hopefully it's not Fred.
No, why would you say his name?
I don't know.
What's wrong with you?
I'm looking forward to the next person who has his comeuppance. So no, all the only people I want to fill are politicians. So. Washington, D.C., get fucked.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. I can't hear you over the sound of the awesome explosions on the TV I'm watching. So
it's all every TV should have awesome explosions going on. That
is mandatory.
That's on brand.
We'll return after these messages.
JRS Podcast is proud to promote AutoCorrect, an independent film company with experienced industry professionals who can serve all your film industry needs. They include self-tapes, voice actor recordings, demo reel editing, script revisions, headshots, and much more. They're Actor Correct at your request. Book them on Instagram.
Hey, feeling down? Feeling low? Not enough podcasts about movies in your life? Why not try?
They must be destroyed on sight.
the new podcast cure-all, sure to get you right with the world and on a path to better living. We have exploitation, we have Italian horror, we have zombies, we have slashers, we have crime films, we have spaghetti westerns, we even have sci-fi and sex comedies. So take a dose of
They must be destroyed on sight.
as needed, and let the hosts, Lee Russell, Daniel Harper, Paul Romali, and the odd guest host cure what ails you.
Warning, may cause atrophy, African consumption, black fever, bone shave, chin cough, colic, cramp colic, dropsy of the brain, elephantitis, grocer's itch, jaundice, mania, miasma, mortification, palsy, Pott's disease, rheumatism, scurvy, St. Anthony's fire, summer complaint, and worm fit in some people. Consult a physician before listening.
Did you ever see a film at such a young age it left you traumatized with cinematic wounds? Necrophilia. It's a dead issue, man. Don't push it. Cinema Psyops is a weekly podcast documenting an ongoing experiment on the mind of an unwilling test subject.
No one should have to watch this movie.
Oh, no one should have to watch this?
No one should have to watch this movie.
Surprisingly, it's not a topic that a lot of people really want to tackle.
I'm shocked, prudes.
I know, really.
Right?
It's the next sexual frontier that no one wants to explore.
I am, in the most sincerest of senses, disappointed in you.
It takes a powerful goddess like Connie, jam her arm down the monster's throat and kill it. Oh, I'm still tripping out over that. Even as a kid, I was like, I gotta find a girl like that. Every week, I get a new look of disappointment that I never thought I could get out of it.
Unimaginable. At 12 years old, you should not be watching this movie.
Obviously.
At 13, you should not be. 14, you shouldn't be. I'm not entirely sure even 17-year-olds should be watching this.
Just because you're offended by something doesn't mean that you have the right to demand that it doesn't exist. Watching this film again, I had all of this like little nerd glee with everything that kept
little
popping
history doll popping up
absolutely.
at you.
So I totally loved this film.
Hey, I know why you couldn't see that. It's because your brain's warped from watching this shit at 12 years old.
Yeah, this is a rough movie. I told you ahead of time when we were getting ready to do it that it was
How
going to be
did
a
you
rough
watch
one.
this shit at 12?
Because physical wounds heal, cinematic ones don't. Listen to Cinema Psyops.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.
Greetings, friends. My name is Dean Legero, and I'm the host of the 3324 podcast. I invite you to join me and my lifelong friend Eric Kuber to come with us as we discuss the music and movies that shaped our life. Each week, we'll pick an album or film that we really connect to, and not only give you some great info and trivia, but also discuss, debate, and celebrate what it means to us and the journey it took us on. We also look forward to hearing from you and giving us some of your picks for us to check out and discuss. I think it'll be a really fun experience, so come along with us for the ride. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider and at 3324.buzzsprout.com. Thanks for your time, and welcome to the 3324 family.
It's time, let's check our cue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. With a one-last plot holes and gratuitous movies. It's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy.
At eilfm.podbean.com.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up review show.